Mrs. Plug the Plumber by Allan Ahlberg. If ever a plumber was needed in the town, the people said, "Send for Mrs. Plug." When Mrs. Plug was sent for, Mrs. Plug came. Mr. Plug came too. He was the plumber's mate. Miss Plug and Master Plug also came. They were the plumber's babies. Mrs. Plug had a useful bag. It had a saw, a hammer, a spanner, a pair of pliers, a purse, a comb, a lipstick, a plunger, a blow lamp, and a few other things in it. One night there was some trouble in a lady's bathroom. A plumber was needed. The neighbors said, "Send for Mrs. Plug." When Mrs. Plug was sent for, Mrs. Plug came, but Mr. Plug did not come. He had to put the little plugs to bed. Mrs. Plug got on with the job. The lady gave her a cup of tea. When she had finished, the lady gave her some money. Mrs. Plug set off home. On the way, a terrible thing happened. Mrs. Plug saw a robber. He was robbing a rich man in the street. The robber saw Mrs. Plug. He wanted to rob her too. "What's in that bag?" he said. "There's a comb," said Mrs. Plug. "I will have that," said the robber. "And a lipstick," said Mrs. Plug. "I will have that," said the robber. "And a blue lamp," said Mrs. Plug. Mrs. Plug chased the robber with the blow lamp. She burnt his bottom. "Wow!" the robber shouted, and he ran off. "That's a useful bag," the rich man said. Then he said thank you to Mrs. Plug and gave her a reward. It was 4 tickets for a voyage around the world. "My wife and I were going to take the children," he said, "but we can take them next week." Mrs. Plug went home. She told Mr. Plug about the robber and the rich man. She showed him the reward. "You did very well, my dear," said Mr. Plug. He gave her a cup of tea and a kiss. The next day, Mrs. and Mr. Plug got ready for the world voyage. They packed their cases. They asked the neighbor to take care of the cat. They put a note out for the milkman. Then off they went. Mr. Plug carried the cases and the little plugs. Mrs. Plug carried the useful bag. The voyage began. The Plug family had a happy time. They saw icebergs in the Northern Sea. They saw flying fish in the Southern Seas. They had dinner at the captain's table. They danced on deck under the stars. Then, one night, a terrible thing happened. There was a storm. The ship hit a rock. A hole appeared in its side. The water poured in. "Help! Help!" the people shouted. They ran about in their nighties and pajamas. "We will be drowned." The captain looked at the hole. "I think we need a plumber," he said. "Send for Mrs. Plug." When Mrs. Plug was sent for, Mrs. Plug came. So did Mr. Plug and the little plugs. So did the useful bag. Mrs. Plug got on with the job. She used the spanner and the hammer. She used a pair of pliers and the blow lamp. Mr. Plug helped her. They both got soaking wet. They mended the hole. All the people gathered round. "3 cheers for the plumber and the plumber's mate," the captain said. "3 cheers for the plumber's babies. 3 cheers for the plumber's bag." The next night there was a big celebration party. The Plug family had dinner at the captain's table. Mrs. and Mr. Plug danced on deck under the stars. The little plugs stayed with the captain. They sat on his knee. They play with his gold watch and his beard. Suddenly the captain felt his knee getting wet. He looked at the little plugs. "I think one of you needs a plumber," he said. "Send for Mrs. Plug."